Hello, 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 Emma Rees Crime here, your fellow crime, thriller and mystery book lover. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It has come to my attention that very recently Goodreads has released an article on the 75 most popular thriller and mystery books over the past 3 years. I've read about half of these books on the list, so I thought I'd go through them with you and let you know if I'd recommend them on a yes, no, maybe sort of basis. Obviously, it goes without saying that this is just my opinion, and if you have a different opinion to me, that is great. That keeps the world such an interesting place. Anyway, I've got 75 books to get through, so let's get started, but quick trigger warning, a lot of Freedom McFadden books feature in this article. Laptop with me handy because no way in a million years will I remember all these 75 books. It'll come as no surprise to you that book number 1 is The Housemaid by Freedom McFadden. I read this for the first time this year, and I well and truly believe that I'm the last person on this planet to read the book. However, if you haven't read this book, then I would recommend it. It's really good. It's a popcorn thriller, it's really easy to devour, there's a wild twist, and it's just an easy, good read. The second book is Never Lie by Freedom McFadden. I know that this is a fan favourite. I personally haven't read it yet, but it is on my TBR. Next we have None of This Is True by Queen Lisa Jewell, which is a lot of people's favourite Lisa Jewell book. Personally, The Family Upstairs is my favourite of hers, but I really loved None of This Is True. I thought it was brilliant and something a bit different, and I would recommend this one. Next up is The Maid by Nita Prose. Main character Molly the Maid is one of my all-time favourite book characters. I love her so much. If you liked Sally Diamond from Liz Nugent's Strange Sally Diamond and you've not read The Maid, then I think you will really like the character of Molly. She kind of gives off similar vibes. I would definitely recommend The Maid and the whole series, especially as the series is completed now. There's not going to be any more books. I think that in total there's 3 books and 1 novella. We have another Frida book, which is The Inmate. It was confusing me with Ward D initially because the cover looks kind of similar, but I've not read The Inmate, so I can't recommend either way if it's any good. Then we have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. So Lucy Foley writes Agatha Christie style books. She is a huge Agatha Christie fan. I am a huge fan of this author. However, when it comes to The Paris Apartment, I would say I would only maybe recommend it because I think it's the weakest of all her books. If you want to check her out, I personally would recommend The Hunting Party or The Guest List instead. Next on the list is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This was one of Reese Witherspoon's book club picks, and I often find that her books are hit and miss, but I've not read this one and I have heard mixed things, so it kind of puts me off reading it if it's not guaranteed to be a really good book. We have another Frida book, which is The Teacher, which I've not read but hope to read it very soon. Then there is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I recently added this to my TBR because I hear rave reviews about it, so I will get back to you on that as to whether I recommend it or not. Another book on my TBR which I've not read is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. I read another book of hers, All the Dangerous Things, which I enjoyed. I think that might be on this list later on, so I'll go into more detail in that when I get to it. Surprise, surprise, we have another Frida book, which is The Boyfriend. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you may have seen that I've read it very recently and I wasn't a fan. It felt more like a dating romance book and I wanted more unaliving, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend this one personally. Next up is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I find this author very Marmite. I either love his books or I hate them. For The Only One Left, this was the first book of his which I read and I loved it. I would definitely recommend it. What I will say is that the first half is quite slow and the ending has tons of twists. So I feel like the pacing maybe could have been a bit better, but apart from that, I loved it. Next up is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. You know the concept of, which is done quite a lot, where the characters repeat the same day over and over again. Well, this has taken this concept and done something a little different. The main character, every time she wakes up, she's gone further back in time. Often I find the concept of repeating the same day over and over again a bit boring, but for Wrong Place, Wrong Time it worked. And also it was set around Merseyside, so it was really nice reading about places I was familiar with, so yes, I would recommend this one. Next on the article is another Riley Sager, which is The House Across the Lake. I've not read this, I've heard mixed things about the twist, but I am wanting to work my way through his backlist, so I'll let you know in the future if I rate it or not. Shock, There's another Frida book, which is The Co-Worker, which again I read very recently. I thought it was all right and I would maybe recommend it. Next on the list is All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. And I am sorry, but it is not a mystery or a thriller. I don't care what people say. It is not. It's contemporary fiction. I found it really pretentious. As a dyslexic, I found it incredibly difficult to read. It was not my cup of tea. I DNF'd it, but I know that some people love it and think it's a masterpiece. So even though I personally wouldn't recommend it, you might like it. Oh, so my husband's just bought me a cup of tea. Gold stars for him. Anyway, so the next book on the list is Ward D by Frida McFadden, which I only actually finished a couple of days ago. It's about a trainee doctor and she has a shift in a mental health hospital, and basically the tagline is that she has to survive the night. I know that Ward D is a fan favourite, but personally I wouldn't recommend this one. Obviously the story has a big focus on mental health, and I think that the way that the story portrays mental health is in real poor taste. I felt like it was almost making out that people with mental health issues are dangerous and scary, and I just didn't like it. I thought it was icky, and Frida is a doctor and I thought that maybe she would handle writing about mental health better, but personally I don't think she did a good job in this at all. Next on the list is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I adored this. This is a definite read in my opinion, especially if you do audiobooks. The audio was fantastic. Next up is The Crash by Frida McFadden. At the time I enjoyed it because I just got swept up in the excitement of the book release, but in hindsight this would be a book I'd maybe recommend. All Good Things Here by Ashley Flowers is next. I've not read it, I've heard great things, and I have her other book, which I think it's called The Missing Half. I'll pop it here. I have that on my TBR and I'm very excited to read it. Actually, I'm excited to read them both. Then we have All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This is a Stacey Willingham book which I have read. I remember pre-ordering this and then as soon as it arrived, smashing through it really quickly, and I remember that I loved it. However, I can't remember anything about it whatsoever. Not a scoop, nothing. And normally I retain bits from every book I read, but when it comes to this book it's a blank, so I don't know if that's a bad thing, but if my memories are not betraying me, I would recommend it even though I can't remember what it's about or anything at all. The It Girl by Ruth Ware is on the list. I've not read all of her books, I've read about half of them, and of the ones I have read, this is my favourite. It's a definite yes recommendation from me. Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll is also on the list, and I remember that this was one of my most anticipated reads of, I think it was last year, and it ended up being a book club pick for mine and Michaela's in-person book club. It's a fiction book, but it's taken inspiration from true crime, in particular Ted Bundy, and I had such high hopes for it, but unfortunately I thought it was so boring. It was not my cup of tea whatsoever. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall is next on the list. I think that this is actually currently on Kindle Unlimited. My Kindle Unlimited subscription is about to run out, so I'm hoping I can squeak this in before my subscription ends. I've heard great things, but I can't say whether I'd recommend it or not because I've not read it. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Jennifer Rose is on the list. I've not read it, but it's on my TBR. I've actually not heard the greatest things about this book, but I am obsessed, and I mean obsessed with the cover. It is gorgeous. Next is Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders, and I've not heard of that, so sorry, I have no information to tell you about that book. Then there is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Somebody by Benjamin Stephen. Personally, I didn't like it. I just thought it was a bit meh, so no, I wouldn't recommend this one. Another Lucy Foley book is on the list, which is The Midnight Feast. Obviously, I've touched upon that my favourites of hers are The Hunting Party and The Guest List, but I would recommend The Midnight Feast too. I thought it was really good. Daisy Dark by Alice Feeney is on the list. This is one of my favourite Alice Feeney books. I loved it. The twist does have people divided, but personally I would recommend it. At last, we have a John Marrs book on the list, which is Keep It in the Family. He writes two types of books. He writes dystopian near future thrillers, and he also writes more like traditional thrillers, which Keep It in the Family falls into that category. Of his traditional thrillers, of the ones I've read, which I've read most of them, this is my favourite one by far. It's a definite yes recommendation. Next is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I loved this. The two books of hers which I've read, obviously this being one of them, I've given 5 stars. I loved it. Yes, definitely would recommend it. Next up is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Peckenham. I borrowed this from the library thinking it was The Golden Spoon, and obviously I was sorely disappointed that I was actually borrowing the wrong book. I thought it was okay, it was nothing special, I'd maybe recommend it. The Bullet the Mist by Richard Osman, part of the Thursday Murder Club series, is on this list, and if you've been following me for a while, you'll know how I feel about Richard, so yeah, let's just move on. There's another Alice Feeney on this list, which is Beautiful Ugly, which is her most recent release. I think it was released last year or early this year, and it's my favourite of hers. It's very cleverly written and it's a must read in my opinion. Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice on Murders is on this list. I've not read it, but it's on my TBR. It's one I've had on my TBR for years and I've been meaning to get to it, but I've just not had a chance yet. Another Sally Hepworth book is on the list, which is The Soulmate. As I said earlier when chatting about Darling Girls, I've read 2 of her books, both of which I've given 5 stars, and this was the other book of hers which I've read, which I've given 5 stars to. Loved it. I really recommend it. The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins is on the list. Michaela described it as the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo if it was a thriller, and I would totally agree with that. It was a really easy popcorn thriller and I would recommend it. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin is on this list. It's on my TBR. I bought it when I went to 66 Books very recently, so I've not read it yet, so I can't comment. We have another Lisa Jewell book, which is The Family Remains. As I said earlier on in my video, The Family Upstairs is my favourite Lisa Jewell book, and this is a sequel to that book, and I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. The Quiet Tenant and Notes on an Execution are both on this list. Both of these books I've heard incredible things about, and I've had them on my TBR for way too long. It's got to a point where these are bucket list books for me. These are books I have to read before I die, so watch this space. Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari LaPena is on this list. At the time I liked it. It was mine and Michaela's in-person book club pick, but in hindsight I'd maybe recommend this one. Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica is on this list. I've not read it. Also on this list is I Have Some Questions For You by Rebecca Mackey. Again, I've not read this one either. Then on the list is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I've kind of learned that this author isn't for me. All the ones I've read, this is probably the best of a bad bunch, so I'd maybe recommend it. Drowning Woman by Robin Harding is on this list. This is really hard to get hold of in the UK, or it certainly was when I was seeing it blow up everywhere, so I've not read it, so I can't comment. Look Closer by David Ellis is also on the list, and again, this is a book which is surprisingly difficult to get hold of in the UK, so I've not read it, but I would love to read it because I hear incredible things. Apparently the twist is fantastic. One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware is on this list. It follows a reality TV trope, and this was a trope I got sick of last year, fed up. However, One Perfect Couple was the exception to the rule. I did it on audio and I quite enjoyed it, so yes, I would recommend it. The Overnight Guest is on this list, and I'm now wondering if this is the one that's on Kindle Unlimited as opposed to What Lies in the Woods. Maybe they both are. I'll have to double check and I'll pop on the screen whether I'm correct or not, but anyway, I've not read it, but I've heard good things. Bill of the Night by Riley Sager is my least favourite of his books which I've read. I DNF'd it, it just wasn't for me. I wouldn't recommend it personally. I found it boring and I had a really sneaky suspicion what the twist was going to be. I got my friend to spoil it for me and I was correct. The Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier is on this list. I haven't read it yet, but it is on my TBR. I probably will love it and probably will end up recommending it because the 3 books of hers which I have read, I have loved. Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent is on the list, which comes at no surprise to me because this book blew up in popularity. Sally is one of the best book characters ever, along with Molly the Maid. I would definitely recommend this. However, personally, maybe this is a unpopular, controversial opinion, Skin Deep by Liz Nugent is actually my favourite book of hers. She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica is on the list. Again, I've not read this, but it's on my TBR. Villa by Rachel Hawkins is on this list, and the past 2 times I've gone to 66 Books, I've been tempted to pick it up, and then I remember that the reviews on this aren't very good, so I've not read it, and I probably never will because the reviews put me off. Kill for Me for You by Steve Kavanagh is on the list. I've not read it, but I do have it on my TBR. I've heard people rave about this book. However, I've got a few friends who are new mums, and all my friends who are new mums that have read this book were outraged by it. They hated it, and as I'm expecting to be a mum very soon, I don't know, I'm intrigued. Maybe we'll have to read it before the little man is born. The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak is on the list. I thought this was okay. It had a lot to live up to following on from Hidden Pictures. So yeah, it was fine. I'd maybe recommend it. If you do read it, just set realistic expectations because it is not on the same level as Hidden Pictures. Killers of a Certain Age by Dina Rayborn is on the list. I've never heard of it, so I can't possibly comment. We have got less than 20 books left to go. If you have made it this far into the video, thank you ever so much. If you're not already doing so and would like to hit that subscribe button, it would means so much to me. Anyway, now on for the final books. The next book on the list is again a book I've never heard of called Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave is also on this list. This book sounds like a thriller and it's been branded and marketed as a thriller, but in my opinion it's just not a thriller whatsoever. I wouldn't recommend it. Another Rachel Hawkins book is on the list, which is Reckless Girls, and I've not read this one but I love the cover. The Maid's Diary by Loreth Ann White is on the list and I love this. This personally is a must read and I think it's available on Kindle Unlimited. The Quarry Girls by Jess Lowry is on this list. I don't remember this at all. I can't even remember if I liked it or not, so I'm gonna say maybe, no, yes, I don't know. Obviously it wasn't a standout book. 0 Days, another Ruth Ware book, is on this list. This is kind of like cat and mouse vibes and I'd maybe recommend it. It wasn't my favourite of hers, but it was enjoyable enough. Run, Rose, Run by James Patterson and Dolly Parton is on this list. You guys know how I feel about celebrity authors. However, I really enjoyed this and I actually think that this book doesn't get enough hype. I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton is on this list. I think that this is a thriller book, but it's also like a mashup of a thriller and like fantasy, so it's never really appealed to me and I've heard mixed things. One of Us is Dead by Jennifer Rose is on the list. Again, this is one I've not read and it's not on my TBR and I'll probably never read it, to be honest. The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentile is on the list. Never heard of this, but the cover has me intrigued. The Family Game by Catherine Steadman is on the list. I think I've seen this around and about on social media, but I don't know a great deal about it and obviously I've not read it. The Next Mrs. Parrish is on the list, which is the sequel to The Last Mrs. Parrish, which I have on my TBR. I've not read, but apparently it's very similar to The Housemaid. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Crosby is on this list. Again, this is one of my bucket list books. I've had it on my TBR for way too long and I hear rave reviews about it. Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney is also on this list and this is one of my least favourite books of hers. I'd say no to maybe on whether I'd recommend it or not, probably not. Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister is also on the list. I ate this up. It was so addictive and I couldn't put it down, so I would definitely recommend it. Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown is on this list. I have never heard of it, but it's got the little yellow sticker, so it was a Reese's book club pick. I love the cover, so I might have to check this one out. Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister is on this list. I've not read it, but I think that this is being made into a TV series, so I will try and read the book before I watch the TV series whenever that is released. Last on the list is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. I've not read this because apparently the writing style is very similar to her other book, The Push, and I didn't enjoy The Push or the writing style, so I've just not bothered with this one. Sorry to end on a bit of a negative there. Maybe I should have worked my way back and ended on The Housemaid, but never mind. If you've not had a chance to check out my previous 2 videos, I'll link them here. Thank you ever so much for taking your time to watch this video. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you. Bye.